Hey YouTube, thanks for joining me. Let's talk about shelter. Now, shelter options are just the overview of shelter for homesteading systems. It's going to be pretty much one of the most primary things you need to kind of focus on initially. So, your main shelter is your home. And so that should be pretty obvious. I mean, we have a house for a reason, so we can actually be in it when there's bad weather and so forth. But we need to have various other options, and in particular, the means to repair the main home and to have other options in case the home is beyond repair. But in terms of the repair kit or provisions to repair the home, here are some various suggestions to have on hand to help mitigate any type of damage to the home. The first is a tarp, but we're not talking about just maybe a tarp per se. We're talking about maybe multiple tarps, maybe very large tarps that may actually be able to cover large window bays, even maybe large portions of the roof if the roof was damaged. Also, plastic sheeting. Plastic sheeting, though, can be also used in place of the tarp systems. But the plastic sheeting can be sometimes a little bit more easier to cut and to move around than maybe a tarp. So there could be different reasons you would use, one over another. Now, this may be a little more extreme, but in environments that may have really bad, weather systems, especially high winds, you may want to consider plexiglass in your windows instead of regular glass. But some people actually have large cutouts that are very close to their window size, maybe a little oversized, so they can actually attach it to the outside of the windowsill, just as a temporary stopgap if the glass was broken in the window. Definitely have lots of various sizes of nails and screws and the tools to use those, hammers, screwdrivers, gloves, safety glasses, and so forth. Maybe a small stash of lumber in the garage or shed, some 1x2s, 2x2s, and 4x4s. And I would also have some plywood sheeting, half inch, 3/4 inch, maybe even a 1 inch, depending on how extreme the environment is in your area. Once again, to board up windows and maybe make temporary repairs to the roof if you have to. Bungee cords. I definitely like nylon mil-spec parachute cord and maybe other different types of rope might want to consider, because you got to consider about how you're going to secure the tarps and sheeting on your actual home. Gorilla tape. These are obvious things to have. Duct tape, hurricane tape, hand saws, gas chainsaws, ladders, crowbars, sledgehammer, portable gas generator. Short-term use, it's 1 to 2 weeks typically that you would be able to maintain a gas generator just because you may run out of gas. But for a longer term, energy systems, maybe a solar generator, a solar collector system, and a battery bank. And of course, these ones I'm mentioning here toward the end are just going to be stop gaps because the systems in your home may not be working if your home is damaged. A portable propane heater and the means to close off a room in the home for emergency heating. So, you wouldn't want to heat your whole home, if the home was damaged and or there's no central air going, no heat. So you'd want to close it down and make it the most efficient possible, whatever heating system you have. This would also include candles and lanterns. The means to um, cook really is going to be another thing. It could be from camp stoves, wood stoves, um, whatever system you have, practice at least a few times a year how to use them. Portable toilets. I think the easiest way is go with a 5-gallon bucket, get several of them. You can get little like seat lids for those to make a makeshift toilet. You can use a kitty litter, sawdust, sand, and I'd probably use contractor bags to hold all of the waste. Once again, focus on maintenance on the home, especially the doors, windows, roof, fences, and keep trees trimmed over your house or other buildings, because those could pose a hazard. Now, you also want to have secondary shelter options. So if your main, shelter, your home, is completely beyond repair, or you can't patch it up to live in it safely until the disaster is over, because this could be a regional disaster you have to get through. Maybe you have to just dwell there for a few days or weeks before you have enough help to get you out of the situation. So you may have to move into your garage, your shed, maybe a barn, maybe a storm shelter, a root shelter if it's outside of your home, or another outbuilding such as a shop. And also have several portable shelter options as well. Maybe a tent system, a tarp system. Maybe you want to go in your vehicle, worst case scenario. Maybe a camper, maybe a trailer system you have. And just like the tarp systems, you could also have a plastic sheeting in its place to create a super shelter. And the tents, if you can live in your home, but you just need more insulation, you could build a super shelter in the home, or you can even set up your tent in the home. So you could definitely do things like that to layer. So shelter protects you from the environment, not just from people that wish to do you harm, but from animals, weather activity, and obviously the temperature. So it's important to keep yourself dry and warm. And of course, in the summer, try to stay cool. And so to be able to do this, in worst case scenarios, we need to have the skills to make a shelter. If all else fails and we don't have a house to go back into, and we don't have our vehicle because maybe it was totally destroyed, and we don't have anything else, can you make an emergency shelter? Do you have an emergency bivy or sleep system? Can you make a shelter from debris, from snow? Can you use the natural resources in your area to make something that will meet your needs for yourself and your family? So shelter is it's a massive overtaking and undertaking, if you will. And so can't really overstate this. And of course, this is just one of many categories. So shelter, though, needs to be kind of analyzed from different viewpoints. You don't want to put all your energies in your house, because your house may not be able to deliver 100% of the time. So, my formula is like 80% of my energy goes into the house and 20% in other systems, because you never know when you may have to leave the home or may have to just set up camp somewhere else on the property. Thanks for watching. Catch you soon.